Hello and welcome back to the channel. So this lecture, let's talk about Apache Flink, which is another real-time data processing platform. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the previous lecture, we have seen how we can use Spark Streaming to process data which is coming in real time. But that you may have noticed that Spark Streaming doesn't actually work on real-time basis. It works on chunks of data and processes it in smaller batches of RDDs, which we also known as D streams. So that is one background. If we need like a very low latency, which we can say sub-second latency, then we can use Flink or Storm. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about what is Flink, how it works, and the benefits against Apache Spark. So first let's talk about what really is Flink. So as I already told you, it's a true streaming processing framework. True, which means it doesn't cut the data into micro batches like we have seen in the Spark Streaming. Also, Flink's kernel is a streaming runtime which also provides like distributed processing and the fault tolerance, which is the biggest need of big data. And it does that at consistently high speed with low latency. So where you are dealing with a huge amounts of data like a website logs or an online store and you need to process the data in real time, then Apache Flink may be the right choice for you. And it processes the data at very lightning fast speed. So it is like 100 times faster than a MapReduce. We have already seen that MapReduce is not that fast and Apache Spark is way more faster than that. But Flink is a step ahead of Apache Spark and beats it when it comes to real-time data processing. And also Flink is the large-scale data processing where you can add thousands of nodes, and that's why big companies like Alibaba uses Flink for processing real-time data, because it processes the data which is coming at very high velocity. But it also can address various types of requirements like batch processing as well, interactive processing, then the graph processing which we'll talk in a bit, also the iterative processing and in-memory processing. And as it's 100 times faster than MapReduce, it replaces it in a very effective way. So it is independent of Hadoop, but it can use HDFS storing and processing the data, but it does not have its own data storage system. So it can take the data from any other distributed storages like S3, Azure storage, etc. So the development of Flink was started in back 2009 under the Technical University in Berlin, and it was incubated in Apache in 2014 and became its top level project. So let's talk about its ecosystem. As you can see in this figure, there are various components if you talk about Flink, and Flink has its own ecosystem like Hadoop. So let's talk about them one by one. So let's talk about the storage first. So as I already mentioned that Flink doesn't have any storage system of its own. It is just a computation engine. So but it can read, write and process the data from different storage system as well as just consume the data from streaming systems. Let's talk about the different types of streaming system. So first one is HDFS, as you already know, which is like a data storage layer for Hadoop. Then we have the local file system. Then also we have the S3, which is simple storage system provided by AWS. Then we have the HBase. As you already know, it's a part of Hadoop ecosystem and it's a NoSQL database. We also have MongoDB for document storage, RDBMS for any relational data. Then we have the Kafka, which is distributed streaming platform. And we also have the Flume for data collection and aggregation. So this is the first layer, which we can call it as a storage layer. Then we have the second layer, which is also known as deployment or resource management. So it can be deployed by many ways. Like it has the local mode, which is again if you are dealing with a single node, then you will definitely use the local mode. And if you're talking about the cluster node where you will be having a multi-node cluster, you will have the different resource managers. So it has its own standalone resource manager like Spark has, but it also has integration with Yarn because it's a part of Hadoop and it's introduced in Hadoop 2.0 version. And also you can use the Mesos as a resource management tool. So this feature Flink has common with Apache Spark because it also has these two types of modes. Then we have the cloud, which is again on the Amazon or the Google cloud. And after that, the next layer would be the runtime. So this distributed data flow, which is we can also call it as the kernel of Apache Flink. So this is very core layer of Flink and provides distributed processing. But it does that by providing fault tolerance, the reliability, and the iterative processing capability. And then we have the top layer, which is the API, which provides the diverse capability of Flink. So it contains like the data stream API or the dataset API. So the dataset API handles the data at the rest. So it allows the user to implement different operations like mapping, filter, join, etc. And it mainly used for distributed processing. And then we have the data stream API, which handles continuous stream of data and processes the data in real time. And we can also do the operation like mapping, filtering, update states, window function, as well as aggregation. Also we have the table layer, which is a relational layer, which enable us to perform ad hoc SQL queries like expression language, which is like a language for relational database, and it can embed it in dataset and data stream API. Then we have the Jelly. So this Jelly is nothing but a graph processing engine which allows us to run a set of operation for creating, transforming and processing the graph. So we will be having a different lecture on what are graph databases and how they store their data and why it is important. That's the whole lot of conversation. The next part would be the Flink ML, which allows us to learn the machine learning algorithms, and it provides a intuitive API and has the efficient algorithm for handling machine learning applications. So this is all about different components of Flink. Now let's talk about this architecture and how it works under the hood. So Flink also has the master slave architecture like any other distributed system, which we have seen in the previous lectures. So master is nothing but the manager node of the cluster, whereas the slaves are nothing but the worker nodes. So as given in this diagram, the master is the centerpiece of the cluster. As given in this diagram, the master node is the centerpiece of the cluster where the client can submit their work or applications. So now this master will divide a work and submit it into slave in the cluster. So in this way, Flink provides the distributed computing power which allows Flink to process data at a very lightning speed, and it can deal high velocity of data without any issues. So as you already know, there are two types of node, the master and the slave node. So on the master node, we configure the master daemon of Flink, which is also known as job manager. So as you can see, this job manager, and all the slave nodes on the slave daemon has the node manager. So this is how the Flink architecture works under the hood. Now let's talk about some of its features and how it is used. So now let's talk about some of the features of Flink. The main highlight of Flink is it is a true stream processing engine, which means it doesn't split data into batches like the Apache Spark, so it has the added benefit of sub-second latency. Then we have the high performance. So Flink's data runtime provides a very high throughput. That's why it's well suitable for real-time data analysis. Then it has the low latency. So because of its sub-second range of latency, it processes the data without any delay, and it does that in a very lightning high speed. So that's why it's also called as a 4G of big data. And it's fast, but it's fault tolerance as well. So the failure of hardware or any node in the cluster, it doesn't affect the cluster and the process which you have submitted from the master nodes, and it bypasses the job to the other healthier nodes in the cluster. So that is the added benefit of distributed computing. Then we have the scalability. So you can scale your architecture into thousands of nodes, and you can add as many of the slave nodes in your cluster so that it can handle the huge incoming data in your system. Then we have the broader integration of services. What it means is Flink can be integrated with various storage systems, which we have discussed in the previous topics. So it can be deployed with various resource management tools as well, like the standalone mode or the cluster mode, where we can deploy our Flink architecture on either Mesos, standalone or Yarn if you have the Hadoop ecosystem. And then it has the event time and out of the order events. So which means it supports stream processing and windowing where the events arrives delayed or out of the order. So because of this all features, Flink is a good choice for huge amount of data which also needs to be processed in real time with the scalability in mind and also fault tolerance for the faster failure recovery. So I hope you understood what is Flink, how it works, the different components, and why we are using it. So enough talking. In the next lecture, let's get our hands dirty and practice Flink on our HDP sandbox. So if you have any issues, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you like this lecture, so please subscribe to our channel and also ring the notification bell to get the latest updates. And don't forget to follow us on our social media, which I have linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.